Hi, this is Don Robinson and welcome to my Deep Wreck Diver channel. Now, today's video is something a bit different from my normal ones. This isn't super deep, there's no super exploration going on here, but it's on a dive that I absolutely love. And it's also where I got this brilliant photo taken of me. Now, the photo in itself, not particularly special, it's all about the context. And if you have a look there, you can see those round things in front of me. Well, it's not until you see this next photo that you realise that what those round things are seats. Yes, this photo is taken inside the dining room of a first-class liner, one of the most prestigious liners of its time, an incredible, incredible vessel. Initially outfitted as a Royal Yacht, it was launched in 1911 and took King George V and Queen Mary to India, where they participated in the very last Delhi Durbar. Torpedoed in April 1917, it now lies off the Devon coast in a very diveable 60 metres of water. It's a massive wreck, over 170 metres long, 12,000 tonnes, stands over 10 metres off the seabed. As you can see, it lies with a sort of 15 to 20 degree list to port, and the decks on it have collapsed down and are slowly slipping off the side. The great thing about it though is that it's really easy to get inside, and as you've already seen, that means access to some fabulous parts of the wreck. One of the things I've been asked on several of my dives is when they actually occurred. Now, I've got 4 years of videos that I'm slowly releasing, and this one here is from May 2024. So as you can see, conditions are absolutely lovely. There's a load of us on board the boat. It's a bit tight, this is a dark star. And one of the things is you've got to be kind of fairly well organised for getting in the water. I think the diver in front of me has just had a bit of a problem, so I've got to get past them. And this is Honey here, who's the crew. She's helping me get my bits and pieces sorted. I've just had one of my bailout cylinders put on there, and here she is hooking up my scooter. And Rick, who's in front of me there, he's already gone off the back. And so I'm kind of rushing slightly to catch up with him, but all is well and I'm in the water. First step always, once you get in the water, on any sort of dive really, in tidal waters, is to make sure you get yourself on the shot line. As you can see, because I was a bit delayed getting in the water, I'm a bit off the shot line. The good news is I'll be up current, and also I've got my scooter there, as you can see, so just heading myself into the shot. It's another advantage of diving with a scooter. You don't need to worry so much about where you go. As you can see there, the shot line's straight down as well, so we must be absolutely bang on slack. You can also see conditions are brilliant. It's a beautiful sunny day. Viz is looking good. Rick's all sorted in the water there, and here we are. We're heading down. All is looking really good at this stage of the dive. Got my scooter on, got my camera running, and going to get my arms out with my video lights on there. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen things like this at the beginning of them all. So it's an absolutely it's a well drilled procedure. Could be any of my dives. Me, Rick, scooters, cameras, video lights, and off we go. And actually, this part of Devon, this is kind of just getting into Lyme Bay. It's notorious for the viz being not quite as good as some of the places that I dive. And what you're going to see, now here we go. We've got a problem. Rick has just had a problem with his scooter there. So you can probably see he's finning quite hard for the shot line. All of a sudden, he's quite keen to have hold of it, but his scooter's not working. So that is a bit of a problem for him, and it's something you're going to see a bit more of on the dive. But first things first, scooter doesn't work. You want to make sure you're on the shot line, and then you're not going to miss the wreck. You're not going to get caught in the current or anything like that. So, in fact, he may even have hold of me at this point. I may even be pulling him to the shot line. So, in fact, no, not true. I've got to shot line. I'm going to give him my hand. I tried to give him my hand. He's not really that interested in it. But he's got himself on the shot line there. So Rick's all sorted. He's got himself on the shot line. He's now got a decision about what to do. His scooter's not working. So you can probably see there, I've asked him if he wants to go up. He's decided he's not going to go up. He's going to carry on going down. But all of a sudden, you know, there's some extra considerations come into the dive. So, you know, what is he going to do with his scooter? Clearly, he doesn't want to drag it around all the dive. You've probably seen that Rick mounts his camera on his scooter, and so you know he will want, if he carries on the dive, which clearly he is, he's going to want to take some photos. So it does raise some questions. Now, one of the things with Rick is he can quite easily dismount his camera from his scooter, and he often does that on deco stops. For instance, if we've got a fishing line goes in, he will take his scooter off and put the scooter on the fishing line, keeping the camera clipped onto himself. Camera obviously worth a lot more money than his scooter. So anyway, here we are. We're still going down. I'm okay. I'm still scootering. Rick is coming down behind me, but you can see now the colour of the water is changing quite dramatically, and we're starting to get all those particles. You can see all that backscatter in the water, and this is absolutely what this part of Devon is famous for. This kind of really limited viz, and it's a real pity because you do get really good viz on the Medina. Unfortunately, that's not what we're going to have today. So that's a bit of a pity. On the other hand, I'm going to spend most of the dive inside the wreck, so it's kind of less important. And here we go. You can see the wreck is starting to appear. So it's at 49-50 meters, which is the top of the wreck. That's starboard side. Here you go. You can see we're down. For some reason, I'm having a bit of a flap. Don't know why. Just turning myself around there, and clearly what I'm going to be doing is having a look and see where Rick is. No sign of him at the moment, and you can see the viz is not great down here. There's only I don't know, 3 maybe 4 meters, fairly green. So Rick's not with me yet. I'm kind of wondering, has he decided to can the dive after all? So I'm going to wait a couple of minutes and then see what happens. But in the meantime, there's a bit of admin that I need to do. Clearly, I need to get my strobes on the shot because I am going to want to get back to it. And one of the things with the Medina, particularly the forward section where we are at the moment, is that it's kind of ship-shaped, but there's a lot of it's kind of angled up slightly weirdly. The bow, it's kind of broken a bit further back and then points up. Okay, so there's Rick. You can see he's come down. He's above me. He's sticking his strobes on. But I guess the question is, what's he going to do about his scooter? It's an interesting conundrum. I mean, I guess there's a few different choices. You could abandon the dive and take it up. Well, I think he's already decided against doing that. So you could then take it round with you. Clearly, that's going to be a real pain. So I doubt he's going to do that. So that kind of leaves 2 other options. One of which is to leave it here on the shot line. And the second is to attach a lifting bag to it and sending it up to the surface. Clearly, that one's high risk. Scooter's quite valuable, so this one, I guess, brand new, £4,000 or £5,000. Second hand, probably, £2,500 to £3,000. So you're kind of relying on the boat, finding it in the boat, picking it up. So he's probably not going to do that. I would imagine, therefore, what he's going to do is take it off and clip it to the shot line. So clearly that's got risk as well. So and the risk is if you don't get back to the shot line, then the risk is that when the shot line gets pulled up, that it snags on the wreck and gets ripped off and gets left on the wreck. So the way to mitigate that is clearly to put the scooter a bit further up the shot line. So my guess is that what Rick is about to do is he's in the process of taking his camera off. I think we've seen him do that, and he's then going to swim his scooter up and maybe put it 5 or 6 meters above the wreck, maybe above where his strobe is. That's certainly what I would do as kind of the least worst option. So here he is now, and let's have a look and see what he does. The other thing to note while we're waiting to see what Rick's up to is that the shot line has kind of pulled up. The chain is pulled off the bottom. That probably means there's some more divers coming down. So if there's more divers coming down, that's kind of gives us a bit of an impetus. And the reason is because the other divers will want to go inside the wreck as well. And obviously, once you've got lots of divers inside a wreck, you kick up the viz and everything. So we want to, if we can, get in there before them and make sure that they look in and they see us in there and decide that they don't want to come in after all and they're going to go somewhere else. So I don't want to rush Rick, but I would kind of quite like him to get on with this. But you know, I'm doing the decent thing. I'm kind of hanging around for him. There you go. You can see actually. So there you go. He's up. He's up where the strobes are. He's attaching his scooter there, and that's kind of enough for me. I feel that he's clearly sorted with his scooter, and this is the way in here. You can see there's a big hole. This would at one point have had a skylight above it, so there'd have been a load of glass and everything. And that glass and that light would have provided light into several decks worth of the dining room. So I'm going to drop in where that hole was. You can see in other spaces around here. You can see where hull and stuff has kind of rotted away. But I'm going to want to go in through where the skylight was and drop down in between the decks. Now I've dived the Medina quite a few times. And I've actually been in this area before, and what I do know is it's fantastic. It's a fantastic place because I've seen those chairs before, and in and around all those chairs is a whole load of other stuff. So anyway, here we go. Rick has sorted his scooter out. You can see he's got his camera all sorted. We're both good, and so here we are. The big hole. We're gonna drop in here. And we're going to have a good old route around because there's all sorts of interesting things in here. It's an absolutely fantastic part of a massive shipwreck, and you know, it's a really famous dive, the Medina. It's been dived loads and loads. When it was first dived back in the 70s, perhaps it was really intact. You know, all the bridge was there. There's a good friend of mine who's got one of the telegraphs in his living room, and it's obviously a wonderful thing. So here we go. You can see dropping in here. You can see a kind of like almost a round shape, and that would have been the edge of the balcony. And if you think back to my photo at the beginning of this video, you can actually see the edges of this this kind of hole. You can actually see on the photos. So here I am. I'm dropping in. You can see the some of the things that would have been the pillars, I guess, that would have been used to hold the deck up there. And here we are into the bottom. So this is the dining room area here. Now you can see it's a bit of a mess, and also not surprisingly, it's full of mud. Rick's just arrived there in front of me, which is kind of slightly unexpected, but that's good. You can start to see stuff in here. That looks like an old pot of some sort. So no doubt there's a fisherman bemoaning the loss of that. And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of slightly dropping down. Now just up there, you can start to see those rows of chairs. Now the backs of the chairs is obviously broken off. So what you're looking at there is the base of the seats. They would have been fixed to the deck. I would imagine they might have had a swivel on them. I don't really know for certain, but clearly it would have been a bit tight. Obviously, I've just banged my head a bit on the roof there, and you can see a bit of stuff coming down. You've got to be careful, obviously, moving around inside wrecks like this. But the thing with the Medina is there is actually a reasonable amount of space, and because it's the way it lies, it's quite easy to orientate yourself as well. So, and I mean, those rows of seats, for instance, they're really helpful, aren't they? They run along the length of the wreck, so you know which way's fore and aft. And you can see there's all sorts of stuff there. There's a whole load of brass things there, or bronze, I don't know, maybe one of the two, or possibly even copper, don't know. But they're clearly non-ferrous. Don't know what they are, but there's a lot of them. And what you'll see above me in a bit, oh yeah, there's some sort of bowl. So I'm going to show a bit later on a photo of the professional salvage that was done on the Medina in the late 1980s, and there's a great story associated with it. You can see a whole load of silver. There's a massive sort of pile of silver crockery that's come out of it. Absolutely incredible. That's not silver, unfortunately. That's just a bit of porcelain. But what's absolutely lovely there is you can have a look. You can see the wooden decking there. You know, just lovely, isn't it, to see something like that? I guess that would be, you know, maybe teak or something like that. You know, clearly to survive 100 odd years underwater, it's got to be made of something pretty decent. So it's not. I think we can say for certain it's not pine, for instance. But yeah, so there I am. I'm just sort of moving around now. Clearly, the scooter's no use to me inside this wreck, and in fact, it's almost a hindrance, really, isn't it? So I'm dragging that along. I'm not using it to propel myself. I'm just carrying it along with me. So I guess I'm a bit like Rick at the moment. I'm kind of slightly regretting bringing it with me, but hey, there you go. That's the bowl. It's not particularly nice, so I'm going to leave it down there. There is some lovely things that come off the wreck. You find all sorts of you get crockery with the P&O logo. You get, as in normal China crockery, you get cutlery as well. So there's the silver cutlery that you can often find down here. Once again, it's quite heavily pitted, but it will have the P&O crest on it as well. So that's lovely. Peninsula and Oriental, for those of you who don't know, that's the name of the company that owned Medina and operated it. So, you know, like all the big liners of this day, they were quite brand orientated. So they had all their bits and pieces with the logo on and those kind of things. So obviously, as I'm going through here, I'm just having a look around, seeing what there is. Don't know what that thing is there that I've pulled up there. Not really that interested, but you can see already the visibility is deteriorated in here just by the act of kind of moving around it. Every time you turn something over, like I've just done there, you've see the viz go. There's one of those pillars that's kind of holding the deck up above me. No doubt when that goes, this whole thing will kind of crush down, and in due course, this will all get flattened, and everything that I'm seeing here at the moment will be lost. And other parts of the wreck, that has already happened to. So most of the accommodation is above the height of the main hull. And you can see from the multi-beam I showed earlier on that that's all crushed down and is now, you know, flat and inaccessible. So, you know, all these wrecks are deteriorating, not surprisingly, and that will happen in due course to the Medina. So you just got to make the most of it while you can, and you know, we will enjoy it for X number of years, and then that'll be that. So there's more of those chairs. Yeah, you can see the Viz completely has gone in places, but it's quite heavy, so it will sink down in due course, and it's not. It's kind of staying in one place rather than filling the whole thing. There's something interesting there, some sort of window perhaps. Gonna have a bit of a look at it. It's a porthole, I think. So yeah, there's loads of these, and you'll see some more. You'll see the windows they sit in. It's actually, if I looked up now, you would see them. In fact, there's another porthole window there. You can see it there, lying in the mud there, and also some kind of. I guess you can see the heating pipes against the wall, so they would have been presumably grills for the heating, so that would have allowed heating out into the dining room. I'm just kind of, I think at the moment, I'm just sort of standing that porthole window up to have a bit of a look at it. I'm not going to do anything with it because, frankly, they're big and heavy and horrible, and there's no way I'm getting it out of here, and trying to get it back to the surface would be a nightmare. So it's just really to have a look at it, and you'll be able to, I think, when I stand it up, have a bit more of a look at it. There you go. You can see the heating grills again. I'm sort of pushing those out of the way. You can see the edge of the porthole. They are absolutely massive. You can see on wreck site, you know, you can see images of people who've recovered these portholes, both halves of it actually, and cleaned them up and everything. They're absolutely stunning. So the Medina was built about the same time as the Titanic, both 1911 there or thereabouts. But unlike the Titanic, there were no third-class passengers on the Medina. In fact, there were only even a very small number of second-class passengers. The vast majority of it was given over to first-class passengers, which meant that everything was of a super quality. And I guess that's one of the reasons why the Medina was salvaged in the 1980s. So I guess the story of the salvage is worth telling. So April 1917, and the Medina's coming back from Australia via Sri Lanka. Crucially on board, it's got a guy called Lord Carmichael, who's been the governor of Victoria and is returning home. And on board, he's got all his stuff. So this is a really seriously important guy. He's got all the stuff that he's taken with him to Australia. He's bringing it all home. Now, the Medina actually stops off in Plymouth. And when it stops in Plymouth, all the passengers get off. So it's just the crew making their way up the channel. And that kind of makes a lot of sense, I guess. If you're worried about U-boats, and clearly they are at this time, everybody getting all the passengers off when you can makes a lot of sense. And then the Medina's just working its way up the channel with the crew on board when it gets spotted by a submarine. And the UB-31 on the 28th of April 1917 smacks a torpedo into the side of it, quite close to the stern, so just at the aft end of the engine room. And very sadly, 5 guys lose their lives. But all the rest of the crew managed to get off and the Medina sinks, and there it obviously sits until divers start to dive it. And in the late 80s, people are aware that it's been found and that all Lord Carmichael's stuff was on board, and therefore they decide that it needs to be salvaged. So they raised a load of money, and what they actually did was put a team of divers on it with a wet bell, so they can go down, they can work on it for prolonged periods of time. I mean, they cut holes in the wreck, they get inside it, they get into all the baggage area, they pull out a load of stuff, and it then gets recovered to the shore, and it goes to Sothebys. And when it's in Sothebys, they have a big auction, and a load of people buy it. And surprisingly, for a salvage operation, they don't make any money. In fact, all the people who invested in the salvage, you know, anecdotally, they all lost money because the auction never made what they were all promised. So it's quite a sad story. I guess if you're one of the people who invested in it, maybe a lesson if you're ever thinking about investing in salvage. Really check the details. But you know, it's all there. It was a load of stuff from the Medina ended up in the Charlestown Shipwreck Museum. Unfortunately, you know, not there anymore. And you can see the booklets from the Sothebys auction. They're all, if you want to go to Wrecksite and you have a look at the bit about the Medina on there, you can see all that sort of stuff in there. So that's the story of the salvage. That's the story of Lord Carmichael, who was one of the big, you know, who's the kind of the most important passenger on board it. Me, obviously, what I'm doing is I'm looking in, still looking around inside. I've probably been in here for what, 15 minutes by now. You know, I'm looking around for something. No sign of any of the cutlery that I mentioned at the beginning. Not really any more crockery. A few moments ago, hopefully you saw the portholes in the side of the hull, or the holes where the portholes are from, and you know, obviously all that stuff fell in. I mean, it looks as though there might be something a bit interesting here. I mean, there's kind of brass stuff everywhere, isn't there? I don't know what these grill things are, but you know, it's incredible when you consider that the Medina has been dived an awful lot, and there is still a whole load of stuff on it, as you can see here, which is, you know, I guess back in the day, wrecks in this kind of depth, you'd assume that everything would have been taken off it, but clearly not. And it's one of the things that makes the Medina a really nice wreck, is there is still so much stuff on there. I mean, I've found plates and stuff on it in previous dives, and they're really nice. So, but the nicest thing that I'm aware of that's come off the Medina is not any of the stuff that was salvaged, or any of the plates or the crockery or whatever. There is a guy found a statue. I think it's copper or bronze. Oh, that's something quite nice. I don't know what that is there. Possibly a teapot, maybe. Something there. Anyway, I've just sort of pulled it out of the mud. I'm going to leave it there. I don't think I'm going to do anything with it. Don't even really have a proper look at it. Anyway, yeah. So this statue that came out, and the lovely thing about the statue is that it's holding in its hands an actual model of the Medina, which is just a wonderful thing. Oh, there's that jug. Maybe I am keeping hold of it. I don't bring it up, so if you want to go into that area, it's still down there somewhere. And it looks as though a few other bits and pieces, maybe a lid there. I don't know, some sort of maybe cup, perhaps. I don't know. It's difficult to see. I mean, one of the problems with these videos is that the torch in my hand burns everything out. I mean, it doesn't when I'm down there. I can see it okay. But what I'm not really taking these videos to play them as videos. This is a power lens. It's just on the side of my head, and I guess I never really thought when I was taking these videos that I would be doing this with them, putting them on YouTube. They were always just something I took for my own kind of. After the dive, I would look over them and just kind of analyze, you know, different things and have a look around and everything. But so only since that my videos started becoming so popular that I thought, oh well, you know, I've got to keep putting them online. So that's why what I'm doing is I'm going back through all my old videos and doing this with them. So if you think the quality of my videos is rubbish, you're probably right, and that's the reason for it. It's really because I'm not trying to produce really good quality videos. What I'm trying to do is kind of have a dive, and I just happen to have a camera on the side of my head, And what I'm doing is trying to explain what's going on. Now, what's going on here actually is clearly I've found something and I'm trying to pull it out so I can have a look at it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean make for great video. Kicks up the viz, and whatever it was, I think I was trying to find there, it is not coming out particularly easily. So I'm going to have another go at it. Chances are it's another one of these massive portholes. I don't know why I'm doing this. Probably kind of feel I ought to. Oh no, it's not a massive porthole. It's something else that I don't like. Whatever it is, I've just chucked it straight away. So it was a bit of a waste of effort. But there you go. So here's Rick. I think we're probably both of you that we spent long enough inside now. So probably time to kind of come out and maybe go and have a look on the outside of the wreck, because although there's a load of stuff on the inside of the wreck, there's also a load of stuff on the outside of the wreck. Oh, it would appear that Rick's managed to get his one of his hoses from his bailout snagged there. I mean, that sometimes happens. They get caught on things and then they get pulled out of the loops or whatever you've got them in. So no doubt he's going to sort all of that out. I mean, you can see we've absolutely destroyed the viz in here. In fact, it looks as though there's somebody else who's come to join us in there, and no doubt is very unimpressed that we've destroyed the viz. Moral of the story there: you always want to be the first pair in if you possibly can. So no doubt they'll be saying rude things about us, and we'll have some rude things said about us when we get to surface. Oh, there's that jug again. Oh, you can see it's got a hole in the side of it. So no doubt that's why I've left it and why nobody else is interested in it as well. You can see the strobes going on there. So and you can see us kind of coming up out of the wreck now. Oh, that's me. I'm just I think saying to Rick that I'm going up. Clearly it's getting a bit crowded. The viz is gone. So time to go somewhere else, and maybe come back in here another day. Oh, there's that circle. Well, not so much a circle, more an oval, I think. You can see it in this photo here. Anyway, for whatever reason, I felt the need to go back down. I expect it's because I don't think Rick has come out with me. So I'm coming back in just to kind of make sure Rick is aware that I'm going out. I don't particularly want to leave him in here by himself. So I think it's kind of important that we both come out at the same time. So I've gone back in and having a look around for him. He must be in here somewhere. Even though the viz, as you can see, is rubbish, I'm actually using the scooter for a bit now. So I'm looking around for Rick. I can't see where he is, but I have managed to get my one of my video lights on the arm there. You can see caught under a bit of the wreck. So I'm just pulling that out and freeing it up, and there's somebody behind me. Not 100% certain whether it's Rick or maybe one of the other divers. So I'm going to carry on. I think it must be the other diver. Otherwise, if it was Rick, I'd have told him. Rick, quite distinctive, because like me, he's got the double lights, the double video lights. He's got them on his camera. I've got them on my scooter. So fairly easy to recognise, even in conditions like this. Oh, looks as though I've just banged my head against something. Luckily, I wear a helmet, so that's fine. Okay, I must have found Rick. So I'm trying to indicate to him where it is we need to get out. So say you need to turn around and you need to go that way. So clearly, I kind of feel he's heading in the wrong direction. So hopefully that's going to resolve things. Oh yeah, he has turned around. He's in front of me, and we're heading back to try and get out and then get ourselves up a bit. And you can see here, 58 meters. The depth of the seabed here is about 61, 62. So we're not far off maximum depth, and obviously inside the wreck. So the top of the wreck, a good 8 or 9 meters above this. So really easy to tell. Use depth to kind of assist with navigation. So that's us heading back. Viz is still rubbish. You can see there's bits of collapsed stuff everywhere. There was another diver briefly off to the right there. And once again, it's just lovely to see kind of a lot of this wood and stuff in here. So the one thing you can do at this bit of the wreck is actually come out of the wreck onto the seabed. There's kind of like a big crack in the hull. That might be what we're trying to find here. I can't 100% remember, but you can see we're banging our head on stuff. We're probably a bit deeper in the wreck than I'm entirely comfortable with. So, but we're together. We're heading in the same direction. And the great thing about a rebreather, of course, is that gas is is really unlikely ever to be an issue on a dive like this. The chance of running out of oxygen, the kind of size of cylinders that we've got and will literally last, many hours. So that's not a problem. Diluent, obviously, you're not using any. So the only potential concern would be a scrubber life. But given the water temperature and everything we've got a long time underwater. So no need to feel rushed. No need to feel stressed. In a situation like this, you just kind of take your time and get you out. And you probably saw a moment ago that the strobes were on. So this is me telling Rick that I'm going up, and I guess I'd really quite like him to come with me. You can see the strobe above us there. So that was pretty much at the entrance. There's that oval again that marks the decks. You can see there. So there would have been the lower deck where we were all where we were at the beginning. There's the oval shape again, and then there would have been an upper deck, with another whole load of chairs, or maybe I guess a bar or something like that. So you can see there I've come up 6 or 7 meters, and I'm now out of the wreck on the kind of the exterior deck level. And you may recall me earlier on in the dive saying that it's kind of a slightly jaunty angle, which does make navigating it a bit difficult, because you've got the angle to the left and you've got the angle up, and then obviously the thing is collapsed, so it just makes this bit of the wreck just a little bit awkward to navigate around. Then of course everything is crushed as well, so there's all sorts of things going on in the front of the wreck. Yeah, and of course the viz isn't great, and there's been loads of divers down there kicking stuff up. So all in all, you add all that lot together, and it just makes it slightly more challenging. But the great news is that it is fantastic. So there's actually loads and loads of stuff to see here. I mean, you can see the deck, you can see more of that teak deck, and this is the top. You can see, like we've got here, there's some sort of hatch cover there. So I don't know what was down there, but there's something. And then there's loads of other bits and pieces. You're going to see in a bit. I think I'll find a load of portholes or scuttles, not just round ones, but there's some rectangular ones as well. All these things are brass. Super high quality. Just really unusual to see this kind of level of stuff on a wreck. And you can see here there's a load of railings, so you can see this is probably the bow maybe, so that there would have been a change in height maybe, so there's probably some stairs going up and down. So we're probably right at the forecastle of the bridge here, and sorry, not of the bridge, we're at the forecastle of the ship here. So this is where it's starting to go up to the bow, and you can see in here, looking in there, you can see there's some sort of portholes or windows anyway in there. And you can see I've spotted one there. That one looks as though it might actually have the glass in it as well, which is really nice. So it's in danger of being buried there. So I'm gonna pull it out and have a good look at it. Dissimilar corrosion, so it's come out of whatever bit of deck or whatever that it was in, and you can see it there. The dust will clear, or the silt or whatever it is will clear in a second. You can see that's actually a lovely thing. I've brought these up before. I've got it in my something very similar to this. I've got it in my house, and it's absolutely it's a wonderful thing. Don't need another one though. So this one, if you want to, this one's still down here. You can see I've kicked up the viz there, and this is of course one of the issues with kind of moving anything around on a wreck like this. But I mean, you can see there's actually loads and loads of this area. There must have been some sort of accommodation block or small structure, I guess, on the top of the deck that's got all these portholes in it. And you can see I've just seen a load more of them around as well. Rick's coming in to have a bit of take a picture of it, so I'm probably going to try and get out of his way. Helping shining my torch on it there is probably not helping him take any decent photos. So yeah, it's all kind of going on around here. But yeah, there's a few more of these kind of portholes there. Those ones don't have glass in, obviously. A little conger reel kind of hiding under there, but yeah, there's clearly some sort of little structure here, I guess. It would be nice to kind of, I guess, have some better quality pictures of the wreck at this point, so that we could try and match out exactly where we are. I know this is really interesting here. You don't see these kind of things very often. Those are rectangular portholes or rectangular windows of some form. So really kind of non-standard, but kind of interesting as well. And you need to have a look at those, don't you? I mean, they're they're really, really nice things. But once again, I've seen one of those come up in the past, and the really disappointing thing about them is that they, although the front is, yeah, Rick's pointing them out to me, the front is brass, but the back is iron. So they're nowhere near as nice as people sometimes think they're going to be. In fact, the ones I've seen are much smaller than these. It's about probably half the size of this one. So that one's, I guess, maybe 3 or 4 foot long. The one I've seen is probably only about 1 foot. So you can see what I'm doing there is I'm just scratching it just to check, and it is it is the same. So it's iron, which will obviously have rotted. So a bit disappointing, but probably explains why they're there. Because if they were really nice, chances are somebody would have had them before. Because this is on the bow, so will have been well visited, I'd have thought. But yeah, so here I am. I've been down quite a long time now, so starting to think about returning to the shot. So even though this is relatively shallow, I guess 50 to 60 meters max. I don't want to do too much deco, so I'm making sure that I know where the shot line is, so I can get back. Oh, there's another diver. Don't know who that is, but they're clearly decided that this is the part of the wreck to be as well. And we're all probably hanging around here because the viz isn't super brilliant, and nobody wants to be that person who doesn't get back to the shot. Even though, I mean, you can see there's not really much current at the moment, but this area of Devon, it will be picking up in the not too distant future. And you do, because it's around the side of a headland, you do get some quite strong currents down here. So you want to be you want to be doing the deco with a lazy shot rather than under a DSMB. So I've just remembered one of the other stories I love about the Medina is that when they made it a Royal Yacht, they needed to actually install a whole new mast. So for whatever reasons, to fly the right number of flags to be a Royal Yacht, you need 3 masts. The Medina, as built, only had 2, so they just installed an extra one for this royal trip to India. And then, so when it came back and it finished being a Royal Yacht, they just took it down again. So it's kind of crazy, the idea that you would go to all that trouble and I guess expense just for one thing, which is exactly what they did. The other thing worth mentioning is this the Delhi Durbar that they went over for. I mean, this was a huge, big ceremony, effectively where in India, which at the time obviously was a colony. In fact, the king was the emperor of India. Obviously, after Queen Victoria's son, he took over. He became the emperor of India, and this was a way for his subjects, I guess, in India to kind of show their loyalty. They had this huge pageant. Now, it only took place 3 times, twice for Queen Victoria and the 3rd time for George V. Never happened again after that. And the Medina was the thing that took the king and the queen and presumably the rest of the court and everything out there. So you can imagine what that must have been like. Maiden voyage for the Medina, had all the royalty on board, and it would have just been like a huge thing. So I guess it's really nice to dive a wreck that has that kind of past associated with it. A lot of the wrecks that I dive are kind of cargo ships, fairly standard things that would have been used for moving coal or cargo or stuff around. But this one here, the Medina, this was, as I've said a few times already, an absolutely top of the line ship. I mean, you don't choose any old ship to be act as a Royal Yacht, do you? So and that meant when it was torpedoed and when it sank, that was big news as well, because of course everybody knew the history. So it was sunk in 1917. It had been built in 1911, used for that trip as a Royal Yacht. So therefore, it was a famous ship, and therefore big news. And you can see I'm back at those railings again, just on my right hand side. So really rare to see those kind of features intact on a wreck in this part of the world. Normally they get bashed around by storms and currents and obviously the decay and everything. So all those kind of things go. It's just I think the nice thing about the Medina is, although the vis is rubbish because it's hidden in behind start point, the good thing is it's actually protected from the very worst of the weather, which in this part of the world is all westerly. So it's got a bit of protection there, and that's probably why it's a bit more intact than a lot of the other wrecks around here. Now, the other thing to mention is, of course, is a submarine. The Medina was sunk by the UB-31. UB, so that's a small coastal submarine operating as part of the Flanders flotilla in captured Belgium, and quite a successful submarine. So in a sort of career of just over a year and a bit, sank 27 ships and damaged another 8 before it itself was mined in May 1918, somewhere in and around the Dover Strait. Exact date of the loss is not really known. The captain who sunk the Medina was a guy called Thomas Bieber. He served or was captain of a number of submarines, including the UB-31. He sunk 37 ships before disappearing in Lyme Bay in late 1918. In fact, the submarine he disappeared on, it wasn't the UB-31, it was the UB-104, and has never been found. So somewhere in and around Lyme Bay is a UB submarine which has got the guy who sunk the Medina on it. And there's plenty of missing submarines around the British Isles, so no doubt somewhere it'll be found, and sometime it'll be found, and that'll put an end to this story. He was a bit of a specialist, though, in this kind of area, and you get this quite a bit, where certain German submarines and certain German submarine skippers tend to operate in one particular area. So lots of the wrecks that are in this area, he was responsible for them, and many of the other ones I've dived, things like the Liates and Stanhope and everything. So it must have been a kind of happy hunting ground for him, and I guess therefore maybe right that if he was going to die somewhere, he should die in this area where he'd clearly spent so much time. I mean, speaking of spending time, you can see me. I'm kind of having a good old route around here. That looks quite interesting. A little bit of a dial or something there. Don't know what that is, but looks quite interesting. I think I'm going to keep hold of that and bring it up with me. I was obviously scratching at something a while back there that I thought might be some sort of a nameplate. Obviously, anything with writing on is always quite nice to have. Little plates. Often on ships like this, you had things that marked place for passengers, or instructions to the crew, or do not enter, or things like that. But despite scratching, there was no writing on whatever it was I'd found back there. So it's left down there. Yeah, you can see I got my scooter there. Clearly, bit of a waste of time on this dive bringing the scooter, not least a bit of an embuggerance kind of carting around. It came in handy a couple of times, but most of the time not. I'd have probably been better off doing what Rick did, which was left it. There you go. So you can see, just communicated with Rick. We're quite close to the shot. I think we've both decided that we've had enough. Actually, that's a really nice image of the shot there, isn't it? You can see there's a big line of strobes on it. Shows how well they work when you've got loads of people on there. So it gives you a really good idea. Even like today, when the visibility isn't that great, it's nice to have it there. And there's Rick's scooter, which I'm no doubt that he'll be very, very pleased to see, because it's quite a lot of money, and you don't want to be losing it. I can't remember what the problem was when he got to the surface. I think it might have been as simple as a dead battery. So these scooters use the kind of batteries that you get in power tools, so DeWalt ones, and so it is. Sometimes they do discharge if you leave them plugged in. You don't disconnect them in between dives or something like that. So that may well have been what happened here. But you can see there, looking back down on the wreck, you can see Rick's scooter. He's taking his strobes off or something. You can see another diver still on the wreck. You can see the horrible green snot that's been around all through the dive. It's going to be nice to get out of that, which I'm going to do fairly soon. And now I've got my little dial thing, whatever that is. not quite the pressure that there is on deeper dives to get up nice and quickly, because of course haven't got the same level of deco on this dive as I would normally. So it's going to be actually a relatively shorter run time, even though I've had a good bottom time. So that's been really nice. And what I'm going to do now is, just as I kind of always do, on the way back up, you sort out all your dive admin, put away my arms, turn off the various videos. You can see one of my video lights has died already, so the left hand one conked out for whatever reason. And I'm just kind of looking down the shop, keeping an eye on Rick, who's obviously getting his scooter, while I carry on my scent. And at some point I'm going to get close to the top of the shot line and the lazy shot, and then we'll be all away. I think what actually happens on this dive is that I turn off the power lens very shortly, and then I don't turn it on again until I'm just about to ascend. So you're going to see it go off once I've finished messing around with my strobes, turn them off, and then I'm going to turn my power lens off, and you won't see it again until I'm really close to the surface. So, oh yeah, there we go. Power lens is coming back on again, and you can see my deco's cleared. You can see, look how beautiful the water is compared to what it was. There's a trapeze, so that's lovely, nice and good for deco. But I'm finished my dive. I'm coming up, and you remember on the way down it was beautiful sunshine. And there we go. It's beautiful sunshine again. Not all that snotty green muck that I had for the whole dive. See, somebody there is on a delayed SMB off to the left hand side. Some people like doing that. Just makes it easiest for the deco. If there's a load of congestion on the trapeze as well, you can just kind of come off and put up a blob. There's our dive vessel. That's Dark Star. That's what I've been diving off today. You see, there's a few people on it, so I think I'm going to scooter over there. Yeah, and I think you'll see in a moment that they're actually recovering another diver, so that's why they've not come to get me. But makes sense, I can scooter over to them. It's one less job for the skipper to do, and it means I'm going to get out of the water as quickly as I possibly can. Which once you get to the surface, that's really what you want. You don't want to be hanging around on the surface. I want to get out, get all my gear off, and start telling everyone what a brilliant dive I've had. There you go. Yeah, I've got an okay signal from them. I'm probably going to be giving an okay signal with my left hand. Can't really see it on the camera, but that's that. Load of divers on board the boat. Another diver coming up the lift, and there's going to be a load of people there to help him. And I'm going to be next in the queue. So as soon as that diver's out of the way and I've managed to get there, I'm going to be out of the water as well. And you can see just how lovely conditions are. It's just really nice. It was actually quite late in the day, this, I think, so kind of getting towards evening time-ish. The sun is relatively low on the left-hand side. You can see that, but sea is absolutely flat. And diving days like this are just absolutely wonderful. I'm starting to waffle now, so I think it's time for me to say all the usual kind of stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this video, something a bit different. Please feel free to leave us a comment if you liked it. If you didn't like it, leave us a comment as well. Always be great if you could like and share and subscribe and all those kind of things. And I will look forward to seeing you on my next video.